There are places in this world that make shivers run down your spine and make you wonder what may be hidden in the sometimes empty spaces. These places are creepy, haunted, and can be found in your hometown. From 1960 until 2010, Veijo Rönkkönen constructed 500 concrete figures and placed them around the grounds of his home. Known as a recluse, he was a small-town paper mill worker who was well-read and said to have experienced the world through pages. Though never having taken an art class, he featured people of all ages and ethnicities, frozen in time in various stages of living and feeling. It was his means of interacting with the world. Rumor has it that with his first paycheck from the mill, he bought apple seedlings and a bag of concrete, and these spoils began the strange garden that we see today. The figures are posted along dirt roads and in a variety of activities: yoga, Cirque du Soleil style poses, resting and merely observing the world, in celebration, youthful playing, dancing, and working. Many of which are happy or merely concentrating, while others seem to be more aggressive. Strangest of all, some of the statues have real human teeth, and others have speakers hidden inside that emit strange sounds. Once word spread of his unusual park, tourists began to flock to the site. Though choosing to never make contact, he allowed people to wander the landscape and enjoy the site at their leisure, but would politely answer their questions. They believed that this place represented an exploration into himself, and a view of the outside world that he chose to experience at a distance. The world continued to inspire more sculptures, wrought by his own hand, that he continued adding until his death. In 2007, 3 years prior, he won a prize for his work, which his brother accepted on his behalf. "12 kilometers north of Šiauliai is a pilgrimage site that represents Christian devotion and is a memorial of Lithuania. Known as the Hill of Crosses, it is said that the first was placed after the uprising of 1831 as defiance against foreign invaders. Following the peasant uprisings from 1831 to 1863, more crosses were added, and by 1940, 400 large crosses surrounded the smaller ones. Though the hill was leveled on 3 different occasions in 1961, 1973, and 1975, the crosses were replaced by both locals and pilgrims, and in 1985 the hill was finally left alone. However, a second legend as to the hill's creation exists. A Lithuanian farmer had a daughter who was gravely ill and was going to die. Doctors gave her every available medicine, but she fell into decline. Every night he sat beside her and prayed, and one night he had a dream. A woman in white asked him to follow her instructions, and his daughter would recover. He was to build a large wooden cross and place it on the hill that once held a fort. It was a sign of faith and love for God, and it would heal the girl. Miraculously, after performing this task, his daughter was cured and waiting for him when he got home. Situated in both Rhode Island and Massachusetts, Precious Blood Cemetery is a quaint location of iron, granite, and stone. Statues of weeping and guardian angels, children, and crosses dot the grounds, making this an awe-inspiring place. Such beauty would never lead one to know of a disaster that brought to life the numerous reported hauntings. By May of 1955, the cemetery stopped allowing new burials when it filled to capacity. Just 3 months after this decision, 2 Category 1 hurricanes tore through the area and caused massive flooding. As a result, more than 50 caskets were brought to the surface and floated away with the tide. Though most entered the city and were easily reclaimed, others were never recovered. The found were taken to a mausoleum in the cemetery and later reburied with new headstones once waters receded. Many state that because of this, the remains were laid to rest under wrong names and has left the spirit searching for family members who had also occupied the area before the floods. As such, white glowing lights, disembodied voices, and orbs have been witnessed throughout the grounds. "17 kilometers northwest from Regensburg in Germany, Wolfsegg Castle was built in the 1300s by a wealthy man known as Ulrich von Lauber. It was to act as a stronghold for the area, but with no defensive structures, it was used as housing for traveling troops. As a knight, Ulrich didn't stay often at the castle. As a result, his wife, Gräfin Clara von Helfenstein, was often left alone, and needed a man around in case of trouble or other problems arose. She would go on to hire George Muller, who was an arch-enemy of her husband, and ended up having an affair. Legend states that upon learning of this, Ulrich would hire local farmers to murder his wife, and yet, not long after, Ulrich and his sons would perish, ending the family line in 1475. The castle was eventually abandoned to the town, left to provide shelter for families in need. It is now undergoing restoration by an eccentric and wealthy man. Ghost stories abound of a woman in white roaming the halls of the castle. She is credited for electromagnetic disturbances and strange light anomalies. The grounds also contain an area simply known as the Hole, a deep crevice said to contain large amounts of bones in many of the crevices. Some claim that this was the last place Ulrich and his sons were seen alive before disappearing. There have been strange noises from a supposed beast who either lives inside or in the forests surrounding the hole. Along the Bruce Highway in Queensland, Australia, 3 streams converge near the town of Babinda. Clear water and natural beauty tempt tourists from around the globe, and is often a popular spot for photographers, campers, and hikers. Though inviting, it is a spot that is feared by the Aborigines, who say that the spot is steeped in darkness and death, giving it the name the Devil's Pool. One such story surrounding their history involves a woman named Ulana, who married a respected tribal elder. She met a younger man from another tribe and began a love affair, eventually running off with him into the wilderness. However, Ulana's husband was a powerful man and sent hunting parties after the pair. Surrounded and outnumbered, Ulana threw herself into the river and drowned, rather than live life without her lover. And yet the tale states that she prowls the waters, luring men to a watery grave. In 1959, 17+ people have drowned at the site. Many were said to have been pulled and held under the water by unseen forces. This hotspot also holds a deadly feature called the washing machine, a tub of naturally churning water that is surrounded by railings for safety. In 2010, a group had been sitting in this area while a friend chose to swim in a calm area nearby. According to the witnesses, he was violently jerked backwards, as if by an invisible hand, dragging him towards the dangerous water. The man tried to grab a branch, but it snapped, and he disappeared under the water, leaving only his fingertips above the surface. Rescue attempts failed. It would be 3 days before his body was found floating in a calmer section of the stream. A plaque was situated near the stream following this, stating, "He came for a visit and stayed forever." And that's all the time we have left for this episode of Creepy and Haunted Places. Don't forget to check back for more content. And the next time you get the urge to set foot in a creepy or haunted place, don't forget to bring a candle.